Welcome guys to another video. I just wanted to express or give my opinion about the Sportsman of the Year by Sports Illustrated that was given to Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, and I just wanted to give my opinion about it. And I'm indifferent about it. I'm not excited that he won it, but I'm not angry that he won it. I can understand why he won it. But when I look at a person being a sportsman of the year according to the world standards, it's always going to be a person that's given the most attention, the person that drives the most revenue, the person that incurs the most money and the most attention toward a specific sport. And that's what Coach Prime actually did. He's not Sportsman of the Year because he took a 1-11 team and made a bowl game, or he won a lot more games than the team won last year. And people have to always put things in context. Yes, he won 3 more games this year than he did last year. However, it's not the same team. And I know you guys are going to say, some of you guys will say, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here to say what I think that most of you guys would say, is that, well, no team is the same from year to year. And I understand that. I completely get it, because the TCU team that went to the national championship game was not the same team that played Colorado this year when Colorado beat them in the first game of the season. So we understand that teams are not the same. But when I say that the team was not the same, I mean almost 100% of the guys that were there were gone. It was a completely different team. At least with TCU, you still had some returning players that returned. Yes, TCU had a lot of players that went into the draft, players who graduated and left the university. But in Colorado's case, when Prime brought his Louis luggage, 99% of the team is new. So I think that he could have won more games. So to me, he's not getting Sportsman of the Year because he did a phenomenal job with coaching. I want you guys to understand and completely grasp why he won it. In this world we live in, most of the people who earn awards, most of the people who gain awards, or most of the people who are acknowledged for awards are people that feed the system. You may ask yourself, what do you mean by the system? Exactly what I just said, the system. The system is fueled and ran by money. We live in a free market economy. And it's Eurocentric, it's European at heart. The heart of it, the core elements of the system we live in is a European concept. It's not Afrocentric at all. Afrocentric meaning that it's not synergistic. It's not something that's done with mutual respect. The European way of thinking and the Eurocentric way of living is to divide and conquer, and to create competition, and to marginalize those who are inferior. That's what the European system does. The Afrocentric system doesn't look at it that way. The Afrocentric system at core is harmonious. So the system here in America, where we live, is going to have people who are going to be pushed toward the forefront, who are going to be acknowledged for certain things because they feed the system, they feed the beast. In my opinion, when people talk about the mark of the beast and mark of this and mark of that, the mark of the beast is the system that you're under. When you think of a beast, you think of something that has strength, that has the prowess and the power to oppress. When you think of a beast, you think of something that's revered and that's feared. All those things that I just mentioned, all those adjectives that I just used, oppression, fear, domination, that's money. Most of the things we do, if not all of the things we do, is based upon money. People will disown their own family for money. People go to jobs that they hate for money. People lie for money. If I didn't know anything, I would say that money is the god of the age. So when you feed the god and you make the god stronger, when you feed the beast, you are acknowledged for feeding the beast. The beast system is a Eurocentric system that's fueled by free market economy that we call capitalism here in the United States, where the rich gets richer and the poor remain poor. And those who are in power, the 1%, or I should say, put it this way, over 50% of the world's wealth is controlled by 1%. That's a staggering number, because if over 50% of the world's wealth is controlled by 1%, then there's something wrong. It means that those who are in the 1% are the people who actually dictate policy. Those are the ones that dictate laws. Those are the ones that control things. Not the president, not the mayor, not the governor. We're talking about esoteric, secretive things that you guys aren't like privy to. No one knows who these people are. They're not like a group of guys sitting in an office devising schemes and means in which to use to besiege society with their draconian policies and to keep us oppressed. That's not what they're doing. That's not what it is. Everything is a system. It's hard to break a system because all the parts of the system are integral to the system. And then we as people, we keep the system going. We keep the system strong because we all go to work for money. We all do what we do for money. And as long as we continue to live underneath the system is never going to die. The system will always live. So people don't have to, it doesn't require an outsider to come in to make sure that the system is running on all cylinders. Is that it's running and it's running with full force. That's not what's going to happen. We keep the system alive by what we do. So when Coach Prime wins this award, it's not because he was a great coach. It's not because he won a lot of games. It's because he fed the system. He brought more money to Colorado, a place that didn't really need money, but he brought more money there. He captured the world's attention. So that makes you Sportsman of the Year. Not by any ethical code, not by any moral admittance or emission from you, not by any moral output. It's not like he was doing something sacrificial or philanthropic. There was nothing that he did that you could say, oh my God, he did this. He just brought more money to the system. And when you can make people spend money, when you can make networks increase their revenue by filming your games, and when you can increase the attention that these sports shows are getting by them inviting you to their shows and giving you interviews, you are part of the system and you're making it work. So those are the people who win in this world that we live in. There are people who feed the system. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. All I'm saying is that there are other people that are more deserving of being Sportsman of the Year. But I want you to understand that being a Sportsman of the Year is not a character award. It's not an award based upon, oh, you had good character or bad character. I would argue and say that the way that Coach Prime handled the team this year was poor. Throwing your team under the bus, throwing your offensive lineman under the bus, clearly not being discreet, making it known that you're padding your son's stats. He didn't say it verbatim, but when you keep talking about your son every time you're being asked questions about the future recruits or future of players who are decommitting, and you say, well, we all know what my son needs. It's not all about your son, coach. It's not called Shador Buffaloes. It's called Colorado Buffaloes. So in my opinion, I don't believe that being Sportsman of the Year means that you are a good coach. It just means that you were just able to generate more money. Now, some of you guys may think that that's a good thing. That's all you need to do. If you can be put into an organization, or if you join any association, all right, and you're able to kind of, generate more wealth for that company, then that should be it. But I would disagree. I think that's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah, we all want to make more money because we understand the type of life we live is we need the money to survive. So I'm not saying that money's a bad thing, but money cannot be the sole reason as to why a person wins Sportsman of the Year. But in the world we live in, that's the way the world operates. It doesn't make it right, but that's just the way it is. And I want you guys to understand why he won that award. It was because he brought a lot more money to Colorado. He won't bring that much money next year. It's going to be less. It won't be as much, and it's not going to be more. So he's definitely not going to win it next year. I think the hype and the splash of Coach Prime and the way he was covered. I mean, I don't think there were cameras following every coach this year, especially his press conference. And then the well-off media, the good job that his son is doing with, capturing certain footage of the team practicing and capturing certain things that are going on in the locker room, capturing certain speeches that are being given by the coaches. So it kind of allows the outsiders like us to have an insight as to what's going on with the team. So we can kind of look in to see what's going on. Now, we're not getting the full picture. It's not like he has a camera that's rolling 24/7, and we should not get the full picture. It's none of our business to know exactly what plays they're running in practice. It's none of our business to know the personal conversations that they're having inside meetings. But we are given a little bit more insight than the average team. Like, I don't know what goes on in Alabama's locker room because there's no social media team that's following them around like well-off media does. And I think that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But also having that type of exposure also comes with a certain degree of angst, of a certain degree of opposition. And the opposition is that you allow yourself to be opened up to being critiqued. That just comes with the territory. You allow somebody to look inside your house, they're gonna give their opinions about your house. But if you don't let them see your house, they have no information to go off of. So you sort of kill them at the start. They don't even get the opportunity to even critique you. So most of my critiques are based upon the videos I've seen. I've seen him give speeches, and I've made comments about it. The press conferences, like I said in my other video, I think he needs to decrease the length of his press conferences. He tends to talk too much because he knows he has the gift of gab, but the more you talk, the more susceptible you are to make mistakes. So it's wise to answer the question directly. Bill Belichick it. Be very short and get out of there and get back to your team. Your players need to see that, how you handle the media. When your players are seeing that it's all about you, it kind of puts a bitter taste in the mouths of the players. So again, Coach Prime does win Sportsman of the Year. That's good for him. I'm not surprised that he won it because if you think about it, the majority and the bulk of college football this year was mainly about him. That's with him only winning 4 games and going on a horrific losing streak. So imagine if he actually won a lot of more games. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, he won 7 or 8 games this year. It would have been crazy. I don't believe that we would have the decommits that we're having. I believe that people were committed to Colorado because they saw how good the team was playing earlier on. And is that steep decline in play, and I think was very, very telling of what was going on in that locker room and what was going on with the team. You're not supposed to get bad as the season goes on. You're supposed to improve. They got worse, which isn't normal. That's a sign of that there's a cancer in the locker room, and the cancer is the head coach. But I know you guys aren't seeing it now. You guys are going to say that I'm hating. And some of you guys, I read comments. You say things like, well, other coaches are going through the same thing. When this coach came his first year, he didn't win a lot of games. Let me not curse. I don't care about how many games he won or lost. I'm going about how they looked in the game. There's a difference. If you struggle, let's say they still lost 8 of the last 9 games, and they looked and they battled. As a matter of fact, I would go as far as to say that the last loss that they had against Utah, they were in the game. They could have won that game. They looked like a competent football team. And I don't mind them losing games like that. Of course, I want them to win. But they were competitive. They didn't get blown out. Of course, there's a lot of things that they can do to get better. They're not as good as they should be right now. It's Coach Prime's first year. He has some more recruiting to do because players are not just going to come there as he thought they would. This idea of you know where to find me nonsense is not happening. You're gonna have to go out there and find those players. But when I see that you're competitive and you're losing games that way, and you're in it, you look like a competent team, I can understand that. But when you just totally look like you're just disconnected from reality and you're just continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, I mean, we all know what the definition of what that means. That means that you're insane. You're insane because your emotions is clouding your judgment. I had somebody make a comment saying, "No, why would he want to put his son in harm's way?" No father wants to deliberately put their child in harm's way. But there's something called emotion, and there's something called selfishness, and there's something called ambition. Sometimes you could be overly ambitious, you could be too passionate about something, and you could be so focused on that goal of getting it done that you forget how to be balanced. And that matriculated into the football field. Coach Prime wants success for his son so bad that he continually put his son in harm's way by being too pass-centric. And being too pass-centric is what caused his son to continue to get hit, which eventually caused him to have a fractured back. And this happened with about 3 or 4 games left of the season. This didn't happen recently. He's had that injury for a while. He was playing with a fractured back. This is why every time he would barely get touched, he would have a hard time walking. And then he would have to go in the locker room to get painkiller injections, which is something I don't advise for players to do repeatedly and consistently. This is how you get addicted to painkillers. So I don't think that he woke up. Coach Prime wakes up saying, "How am I going to put my son in harm's way?" No, he wakes up, "How am I going to show the world and show the college football world that my son is great? Because my son is great. He's good. I want my son to be put in the Heisman talks." But that to me is more of Prime. That's more of your ambition. Now, I'm not saying that Shador doesn't want to win the Heisman. I'm not saying that. But sometimes we know as parents, if you are a parent, sometimes we try to live vicariously through our children. Whatever we didn't achieve or whatever we did not succeed at, we try to push our kids to succeed at that. So if I played sports and I didn't get to the NBA or I didn't get to the NFL or I didn't get to the major leagues, baseball, whatever sport I played, right? If I stick my son in a sport and I see that my son has talent similar to me, I may push my son so hard to get to where he needs to be to fulfill a void that I have. So this idea that why would Coach Prime put his son in harm's way? He will put his son in harm's way because he's trying to fill a void in him. Prime was a defensive back. Now you have a son. Coach Prime didn't win the Heisman. He gets a chance to have a son to win the Heisman and get drafted in the first round and get first round money. I mean, you can put your child in harm's way when your focus is heavy on one side and you lack balance in your thinking. You will make decisions that are not the best of decisions that come with repercussions, i.e. the injury to his son Shador. So when I say that it's his father's fault, some of you guys are not cerebral enough in your thinking process. You're thinking that I'm saying that the dad is the one that hurt his back. No, the decisions. And then some of you guys will say, "No, if the offensive line would have blocked better." That's the whole point. I'm looking at the bigger picture. If you know as a coach that the offensive line is not your strong suit, then stop doing the same thing that's causing your son to get hit. To hell with his statistics. Don't try to. That's what I mean by putting your son in the game to pad his stats. Because you are unwilling to change the offensive philosophy. You're still willing to put him in harm's way to make sure he gets those numbers. That's why I said that it was Prime's fault. And seeing coaching malpractice to that degree doesn't warrant a person winning Sportsman of the Year. But like I said, he won it not because of his coaching potential or his coaching practices. He won the award because he generated revenue to the system, a system that I call a system of the beast or the beast system itself. It's a strong system. It's hard to break it because it manipulates everybody. It controls every household. It's everywhere. It dictates actions. It dictates behavior. That's a God, folks. I mean, if you think about it, that's what a God does. When a God is powerful, they dictate behavior. They dictate people's actions. They're inside everyone's homes. Money is omnipotent. But it's a clever system used for control, definitely. 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 And the and Coach Prime is a perfect spokesperson for the European. And what do I mean by that? Meaning that he pushes the narrative to speak to young black men about getting up out the hood to help their parents with sports. Now, he kind of buffers it by saying getting an education too. But we know what Prime is using to sell his program or sell recruits of the program. To have the recruits buy into Colorado football. What he does, he tells them if you want to come here, he has connections. And this idea that all we are, especially as black people, that all we are entertainers is sickening to me because there's so much more that we could bring to the table. We are much more than athletes, but we're good at it. We're great, but I think that we're just entertainers for the B system. The billionaires own us. NFL football, NCAAs is just another means of modern day slavery. You may not see it, and that's fine. It's sports. I know it's fun, but there's money behind it. Remember, the system is a beast system. It's about money, which is why I'm happy now that players can benefit from their talents on the football field if they get those sponsorships as they work towards those things with NIL. But we're more than that. Every young man that I talk to, what do you want to be? They always name never fails. I could line up 10 black kids, and 9 out of 10 of them are going to tell me they want to be in the NBA or the NFL or something. I think that the most fearful thing that you can have is an intelligent black person who infiltrates the beast system and uses their mind to retard the system, to put the system in a compromising position. A young black person with a mind that's enlightened, that's informed, that knows the nuances and the complexities of the world, and they use their intellect, not just their athletic ability and their athletic prowess, but they use their intellect to crush the beast system, to create some type of world system where it's resource based, where we're not living by money, where people don't have to get up and work, where the machines do the work for us. And that can happen. That can happen. In the 21st century, we have the resources where it can be that way, but the controls don't want that. As I've said before, we live in a third dimensional reality, which is a hell reality. And you can tell this is a hell reality because power is used to dominate. Power isn't used to share amongst people, to have everybody walking on an equal playing field. There always has to be leaders and people in control. And the people in control are always small in numbers, and they dominate the masses. But that type of thinking, that type of culture, and that type of environment is brought forth by fear. Fear of what we can become as people. We're much more than basketball and football players. So I don't like when Prime is like, get you out the hood and help your parents. You can get out the hood many ways. But I understand he also buffers it by saying getting a good education and going that route as well. So I'm not completely, disliking Prime's talk, but I believe he should lean in first with getting an education and doing something and impacting the world, and then using football as just something that's an add-on. Because, believe it or not, an average lifespan of an NFL player is 3 to 5 years. And what else are you going to do with the rest of your life when you're in your mid-20s? Or even if you play for 10 years or 11 or 12 years, you're in your mid to late 30s. Then what? You're not an old man. You may be old for football, but you're not an old man. I would be, if I played football right now at my age, I would be considered a grandpa right now. But I'm fairly young. So they just use you. Once you're done playing, then they just recycle you. They take you out and get another person to take your place. Over 70% of the NFL are black athletes. So 7 out of 10 players in the NFL are black. We feed the system. The system would collapse if we disengage from those things, but we can't because, like I said, the power of money is so strong that we feed it by engaging in these practices. No one's going to make that big of a sacrifice. I don't expect you to. I don't expect people to. But it's going to have to, something has to happen where a great awakening occurs where people just pull back. We stop consuming what they create for us. We stop buying Louis Vuitton stuff. We stop buying the things that these Europeans make and making them richer, and just buy the things that are from our own people. But we're never going to do that anyway because we don't believe in ourselves. There's an inner self-hatred of our own kind, which is why many of us, especially many of our black women, they try to have their hair look like their counterparts rather than embracing their blackness. But I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but this message was pretty much to let you guys know that Prime won Sportsman of the Year, and I was just giving you guys my take on it. I don't think he won it because he was a fantastic coach. I believe he won it because he just generated income to the beast system. Anybody who feeds the beast will succeed in his life. It's a satanic realm. And I say satanic realm, it's a realm that's overwhelmingly dark, because we need darkness and light together. We don't try to eliminate all of the darkness. So you need a little bit of darkness to make the light valuable. So in a life, when you're living life, shoot to have balance and harmony in everything that you do. Embrace the critics, embrace difficulties, embrace mistakes, embrace the failures, because the more you do those things, the greater the triumph will be. You don't try to eliminate all the heartache. You don't try to eliminate discomfort, because it's in discomfort that is going to give you the gumption to seek comfort. Because if you're always comfortable, then you lack the impulse to actually do better because you're comfortable. Never seek comfort. Always seek to be comfortable. Push yourself, stretch yourself. But there needs to be a balance. You don't want to overstretch yourself and overpush yourself too, because if you do that, then that's not good. But you don't always want to be too comfortable. So there's a harmonious dance that goes on with those two concepts. You have to be very, very intelligent about the way you live your life. And I think that the world we live in now is overwhelmingly so dark, and that's the imbalance. And that's why people who operate in dark ways tend to succeed. And I know you guys see it. I'm not speaking out of my ass here. We understand that a lot of people who are successful in this world, they got to where they were by cheating, by scheming, by stealing, by lying, by taking shortcuts, taking advantage of other people. But when they get to where they're at, all we see is their success, and we think that they got there the quote unquote normal way, or they got there through hard work and all that good stuff, and that's not always the case. Most people who are at the top got there one way. They got there in a very immoral way, let's say that. And that's why sometimes when you see these people in these high positions, they end up being blackmailed because they end up getting into a situation where they're in trouble with sexual harassment or maybe child molestation or something to that effect. But then they become controlled, because it's easy to take somebody who has power and influence and find out something that they've done in the past and use it against them to control them. If you don't do this, we're going to let this out. The FBI and CIA, they do this a lot. They do this a lot with people. They do this a lot with people, especially people with money and power. It doesn't matter your race. You could be black or white or Mexican, Hispanic. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a person that's influential in the community in a good way and you're doing things the right way, they'll find a way to dig up something of your past or even fabricate a story and then tell you that, hey, you better continue to do this our way, or if you don't, we're going to have to let this out and we're going to destroy your program. So a lot of people become controlled, and they end up being used as controlled opposition by the government. That person ends up being the spokesperson to push narratives that the controllers want them to do. But they're credible to the people because we still view those people as people who came from the ground up. We're looking up to them. But little do we know that these people are already compromised or bought off. They're bought off because they're being blackmailed. So all those movies you guys watch and you look at it, you say, oh, that's in the movie. That doesn't happen in real life. No, that happens in real life all the time. Many of the presidents got to their position because they're being blackmailed. They became presidents because they were blackmailed. They got there because they were blackmailed, not because they were great. They're there because they have dirt on them. They have dirt on them. So we're going to put you in a position of leadership because we have a lot of dirt on you. You better do as we say, because if you don't do as we say, we're going to let that dirt come up to the forefront, and we're going to let everybody know about what you've done. So that's the way the world works. The people who are deserving of being acknowledged and recognized, you'll never see them. As a matter of fact, I like it that way. I think being recognized in this world sometimes, to me, it's not all what it's made out to be. Sportsman of the Year, great job, Sportsman of the Year. I would argue and say Eddie George should have been a candidate for that in the HBCUs. And there's other coaches out there who I believe, or other coaches out there who I believe should have won the award. But I understand, because if another coach wins it and Coach Prime doesn't win it, all hell would have broke loose. Oh, the world is racist. He didn't win it because he's black. Look, all the money he brought into Colorado. I can't believe he didn't win it. So if you're basing the award about generating income and generating money, then of course Prime should win it. But if it's about being a good coach, leading men, handling the locker room well, doing great things in the community, then And plus, a lot of the things that Coach Prime and his team did were televised. I remember when the team, they wanted to do something for, I think it was Mother's Day, I believe. Was it Mother's Day? They wanted to do something for Mother's Day or something like that, or grandma, something. I think it was Mother's Day. They wanted to do something for mothers. And Coach was like, okay with it. But you think Colorado's the only football program that's doing something for Mother's Day, for mothers? So, I mean, social media is a powerful tool to sway minds and push narratives. And if you can get your story out there the most, and that's what people are going to go off of. They're going to go off of what they are besieged with. It's the power of information. It's an information age. It's a war for information. And whoever can give out the most information has the power to slant views and slant ideas and slant the terminology. Because if you can have certain people speaking in certain terms, then you've already got them. Because you're already shaping their thoughts, and if you're shaping their thoughts, you're going to shape their words, and out of thoughts come words. So, but again, congratulations to Coach Prime, and we'll see what he does next year. All right, we'll see what he does next year. Hopefully he does well. I really want him to do well, but it's not looking good right now in terms of the players that he has on his team. And if his team is going to be worse in terms of personnel than it was this year, then you can't expect him to win more games next year. The only saving grace that he has is that the team is moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, and the Big 12's competition is not as deep as the Pac-12's competition, so he may have a more chance to win more games in the Big 12. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, thank you guys for listening. All right, leave a comment and tell me what you guys think.